maybe Mr. Lee also manipulated him in a way too, because I don't know, man. He says don't trust anyone. I love Mr. Lee, but I feel like
Yeah.
I'm a little paranoid. I'm a little like,
Welcome, everybody. This is Two Beans and a Screen, the podcast where we talk about basically everything and anything that's dealing with K dramas. Comey, it is a new year. Big
happy
moment.
2023.
Happy 2023. And we took a bit of a break from watching Reborn Rich over the holidays. We're now getting back to it. We know the show is done at this point, but we have no idea what is happening. We're going to finish up the show, get all of our thoughts in. This week we are watching episode 13.
Yes.
Of course, I am your host, CB. This is my co-host, Comey.
Hello.
Hello. Well, let's dive right into it because following on the back of episode 12, which was the saddest episode of the show by far, this one kind of has a similar tone, I feel like. It's not exactly a happy episode.
Yeah, I think it's definitely winded down from episode 12 because everyone
Yeah.
is saying, oh my god, episode 12. But this one was kind of just like the wrap up of it, I feel like. I don't know. I,
Mhm.
I still felt sad, but I felt like this episode didn't hit me as hard.
Yeah, I agree. There are some moments that I really, really enjoyed, but they weren't as, I suppose, hard hitting. And there's one
Mhm.
moment in particular that is a major plot point that wasn't, they didn't play it like a big twist. They didn't play it like a dramatic moment. It was just part of the story. And that was kind of a strange decision, but also nice that they didn't play it up too much and hurt us even more this episode.
Yeah, I feel like we still do have a lot to talk about. Like we have some like
Mm.
major things, such as like the Apollo car, just
Hmm.
basically Sun Young's future, the granddaughter's back, the mysterious granddaughter that we are like, wait, what happened to her again? Um, and the major moment where the chairman finally passes, and
Yeah.
yeah, just
Yeah.
a lot of smaller interactions between the families and like just how you see them reacting to different scenarios happening in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's interesting. I think this episode actually had a surprising amount of content in it.
yeah,
The pacing didn't feel as fast paced as some of the early episodes, but it definitely had a lot going on. And so, in this case, I think let's start right at the top. Let's go kind of chronologically so we
hmm,
don't skip anything major. We begin with the Korean World Cup. At the end of the last episode, Jin Do Jun was looking out the window and he had this kind of like light bulb moment about what he was going to do. And they referenced the Korean World Cup. Now we know exactly his plan. He was going to use the momentum, the fervor, this historic run for the South Korean World Cup team to basically boost the Apollo car, the new car that was not, it was not projected to do well at all. It was going to be a
yeah,
failure. There was oversaturation in the market. There was cheaper cars in the market, and everybody thought it was going to fail. And he used that basically to prove that the Sunyang Motors label was not dead yet. What did you think of this whole kind of scheme that he was pulling off, and did it pay off the ending of the last episode?
yeah. Like it's a really clever way to get promotions for your company. It's like because of the momentum of like cheering for your country, hoping that they will win, having something that is physical kind of relate to it, like, oh, if you buy this car it'll also bring you good luck, as like how the team is progressing, because it seems like it's all luck, right? Like um I don't know much about the World Cup, but I feel like usually the Asian teams aren't favored to win much or many rounds, so when they even started talking about this, how, oh yeah, we're gonna promote it with the World Cup, and if they get past the first round, they give away 100, and then 200, 500, 1,000 cards, whatever. Everyone's like, you think we're even gonna like make it to round 16? Like, you even think we're gonna get that far? Like, you're funny. Like, this is not gonna happen. No one believed
Right.
it, and obviously, it feels like it's uh such luck that they're able to get that far. So
Mm.
yeah, it was super clever that he was able to be like, if you keep rooting for South Korea's team, like you're going to be also like with Sunyang Motors, like we will get them to the top. Jin Do Jun even says if they reach semifinals, the public will equate Apollo with the overwhelming feeling of victory, which is like, yeah, which is super true. Like, I mean, we don't really have any sports teams that are worth rooting for in Canada, but
Not
if we
unless you're
did,
super into hockey. And even in that case, it's like, who
even
plays
though,
hockey outside of Canada, you know?
yeah, and even our hockey teams aren't even that impressive either, I think. But anyways, if we had a team to be rooting for like that, it'd be like, yeah, I would want to like also like, oh yeah, I wanna help, I wanna contribute, I want something
Mm.
that like is like gives me pride for our country's success in sports.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's one of those things where I feel like every time he uses his superpower of knowing what's going to come in the future, it's a little less impressive. But it's the ways that he is able to manipulate it and actually come up with a marketing strategy for it. Because it's one thing to know something is going to happen, it's a different thing entirely to know how to use that to your advantage. And in this case, not only was he using it to his advantage of, I know how to market this car and sell it, he's going to use that unified feeling of pride and associating success and again putting themselves out there. He's giving something back. Like it's not like they were just like, oh, this car is great. It's like, no, 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 no. We're giving these for every match that we win. We're going to give out even more cars. So they're giving something back. It's he thought this through. He knew every element. But the larger thing to me was also how he knew that this was so important to his grandfather. The chairman has
Yeah.
always been about Sunyang Motors as kind of the backbone of the entire company. And
Hmm.
even he had given up on it at this point. And so he made this bet with the chairman, basically saying, don't sell it. You can sell it if we manage to not make it to the semifinals. But if we make it, know that we will succeed. And so he was able to leverage this, and that's where I feel like the emotional connection came for me, and why I actually really liked this kind of
Yeah.
superpower use of his.
Yeah, he like, and the chairman also says like he's not the he's not the type to make useless propositions. Like
Yep.
he knows like he there's a reason why he's doing this. And I thought like, yo, maybe that's how the chairman can get confirmation or like get some sort of comfort knowing that someone believes in him, and that it's probably going to end up in his favor, as things usually do end up in Jin Do Jun's favor because of his superpowers. But he
Yep.
said, Jin Do Jun must pity me. And I was like, no, he doesn't pity you. He's not making this bet with you just because you're old and dying or whatever. Like okay, maybe he is a little bit, but he also
I
does
think
like
he's a little
believe.
bit, but
Yeah, he does believe that like it can go further, as he says, um, uh, like don't you want to see the day where like the world will acknowledge your foresight, and like because he's from the future he knows like everyone does in the future. And the chairman's like, you talk as if like you already seen it happen, like you're so confident in your words. Like he sounds like sussed out about it, so that's why I thought like he would also pick up the subtlety that Jin Do Jun's like, it will like you will profit from this, like the world will see your foresight and everything. But I feel like it's because he was just so worn out and so tired from his illness. He says he pities me, and I was like, no, he doesn't, but he a little bit, but not really, no.
yeah, he was obviously doing it for his own benefit. But
Hmm.
I do think, and I don't even think it was pity the reason that he was doing it. I think it's because he has really grown to care for the chairman.
Yes, yes,
And
like yes.
yeah, well, I guess the moment that really got me is after the fact when he was no longer with Jin Do Jun and he was with Mr. Lee, and he tells Mr. Lee that there's finally someone who cares for him,
Yeah.
and that was Jin Do Jun, and that kind of well, not even kind of. That really hurts because he has been surrounded by family. He has
Mhm.
been surrounded by employees. He has been surrounded by people his entire life. And for him to realize only at this moment, knowing that Jin Do Jun is pushing for Sun Young Motors specifically because he does care about him, that hurts. That hurts to know that he has not felt that before.
I even wrote down in my notes too. It's true what they say, like those the people who are at that stage of life, or they know that like it's going to come to an end. You don't really think about the materialistic things in life anymore. You think about the people, regrets, like the love you felt, like everything that is more deep and personal. You see, like before he even like his the symptoms even started kicking in for his tumor, he still only cared about Sun Young. And like I still believe that he
Yeah.
still does only really care about Sun Young, but it's like his mentality has changed, like he doesn't even realize it, because I don't think he would ever talk about, oh yeah, the only person in my entire life that has finally started caring about me, the only one who cares about me is Tojun. I don't think he would ever say that out loud, ever really think about it, but it's because he got to this point in his life where he's starting to reflect and to think about everything that has happened. Yeah, it just made me kind of sad, like that interaction, like because you see Jin Do Jun uh, having more what familial attachments to him. Like he
Yep.
really probably does care for him at this point.
For sure.
But it, yeah, it's just kind of sad that moment. And when he said I should revise my written will, did you think like whatever they announced later in the episode was going, how it was going to go down?
They the fact that so no, I didn't think it was going to go down the way it did, but they kept foreshadowing it. And so that to me said something has to happen. Some twist is going to take place.
Because they kept talking about the will.
They kept talking about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was brought up like 3 times this episode before we actually got to the moment where, after he passes, they reveal what's in the will. And let's save that to reveal exactly what happens. But to answer your question, I knew something was going to happen. I didn't think it would go this direction. I will say that they got me. What about you? Did you expect this?
In my notes, I'm pretty sure I was like, what?
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, because I, but I did expect a twist, so I wasn't like
Mm.
surprised that like there was a twist, but I was still like, huh,
Yeah.
what,
Yeah. The direction that it went was very surprising because it doesn't line up with anything that he was saying.
right? And then the flashbacks of don't trust anyone. I was like, oh my
Don't trust anyone. I was like,
god
no,
damn it, they're doing this
this
again.
guy, this
Ugh.
guy. Okay, okay, let's jump back a little bit though. So after the whole Soon Young Motors thing happens, oh, one other thing that I want to talk about with Soon Young Motors actually before we move on, because this was a good chunk of the beginning of the episode. One moment that I really enjoyed, because we get them so rarely, was 4-1. Jin Do
Yes.
Jun's brother is, just he's going into like the subway or something, and he sees this giant billboard of this advertisement, and he immediately calls his brother and is like, "Did you get the wording wrong? You messed up. What are you saying?" And we get these moments of basically them being brothers. It's so rare that we see the family kind of just acting like a family, or that sort of thing. And it was nice to see that he cares about the business, at least because he knows it's important to Jin Do Jun. So it was nice
Yeah.
to see him be like, "No, what are you doing?" And then them, of course, celebrating the victory with the full family and stuff. It was just a really nice moment that kind of broke up the heavier tone of the show.
Yeah, I guess I didn't expect it to end up being so um not so happy at the end. I mean,
Hmm.
we're kind of expecting his death like in these next few episodes anyways. So I don't know. Every time I saw the chairman, I was already like, mm,
Yep.
something's gonna happen. But I did
Yep.
really like the scene in the beginning where they kind of did hype it up, and like even though like I didn't live through that moment. I didn't like. I don't really watch sports like that. I was like hyped up for them. Like, oh my god! Like
Totally.
this is so fun. This is so cute. Like seeing all the B roll and like the actual live footage of the soccer players and them scoring. They're so talented. Like scoring all their goals and everything. I was like feeling so hyped up too.
Again, it's kind of hard to understand it being Canadians, as you already touched upon. We don't really have like a really strong sports kind of like
We're not
culture here,
we're not
not in
very
the same
good.
way. But
we're just not very good.
if we think about some of these countries who like the World Cup is the biggest sporting event in the world. For
Yes.
a country like South Korea, every single person is aware of it. You probably know the players' names. There's so much that goes into that, especially back in like 2002. Everyone was so tapped into it. It's that cultural moment.
Very fun moment in the show.
Totally, totally. All right, now moving on here. Hyun Min, she has more moments this episode of being devious and listening in on everything. There's a conversation that happened between her and the chairman where basically she was serving him tea and he kind of is unfortunately having an episode where he mistakes her for somebody else. And we
Yes.
see that he does in fact mistake her for, is it for Alpha?
Yeah.
And so he says, even though your husband was born out of wedlock, I'm still going to take care of your family. Like I'm giving your youngest son everything. I'm going to give him Young. And so Hyun Min in that moment realizes that maybe he's not quite in his right mind, realizes that she has to take care of this situation and use this to her advantage. And the grandmother shows up and kind of like shoos her away. She's being very protective of the chairman. And this builds out until eventually, well, she's sneaking around trying to find his medication to find out what his illness is. And the grandmother walks in, and it's a very tense moment between the two of them. What did you think of this scene?
Dude, she's always so scheme. Like I really liked her character at first, and then like as we progress, like she always has such a sus expression on her face, and it just makes me every time I see her, I'm like, what are you gonna do now? You're just gonna cause trouble again. Like, oh, what are you doing? But that is her character. Like she is supposed to go around like a rat, and gather information. But honestly, I don't even know like how much is she really providing for her her family. So her and one. She doesn't even give him all the info all the time either. Like she always has everything, like all the information before he does, but she kind of gives it in little moments. And if they're a real team, like they could probably work up something together and actually have a decent plan on taking him down. But she kind of just tells him in like increment moments, and I don't know. I was like, oh crap. When he started talking, I was like, don't say anything, don't do it. And then he kind of just like, oh, I put on your favorite song, like just for you. And I was like, oh no, this sounds like an old song. This is not for her. And he says, you must have resented me a great deal. I'm planning to leave Yoongi's son, all of Soonyoung group, and yo man, but like maybe her world like got shattered in that moment when he said that to her. Because like, how else are you gonna scheme your way out of this? How else would you like? How would you use this information to give it to your husband? Like, give the group to your husband? Like, I feel like in that moment she probably thought like, oh crap, there's like nothing else we can do. It's set in stone, especially with the will and how he was gonna change it and everything. You totally think it's gonna go in one direction, right?
So that's where I kind of looked at it in the same way that somebody else in this episode looks at it. If she was able to show that he was ill, any
Yeah,
changes that he makes to the will at that point become null and void. And
yeah.
so I'm sure in that moment, it was that realization of, oh no, is it too late? But then
Mm-hmm.
if the will hasn't been changed yet, and it's going to be like he plans to hand it over and we can do something about it. I'm sure she was like gears turning. Okay, how do we prove that he's not in the right state of mind? How do we prove this? How do we show everybody else what is the exact illness? If we can prove it, we can nullify it and we can still be the ones to once one day in the company as long as it goes through primogeniture. That's at least how I read that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I feel like I just didn't think so much in this episode because I was like, oh crap, it's coming to an end.
It is. It
He's
is. This is only episode 13. We still have 3 more episodes to go. We have 14, 15, 16. There's still a lot to happen, but it feels like we're in the end game, especially with everything that happens.
but
Uh yeah, go ahead.
oh, and I was just saying, yeah, it feels like it, but we just got introduced a new, well, old new character, the granddaughter. She has to like start crap, man. She has to like rile up everything. She has to like I want her to come in like a tornado and just there has to be a reason why she comes back in the last 3 episodes, 3.5 episodes.
There has to be. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You were the one who reminded me that she even existed. I forgot she existed because she just disappears. They reference her in one episode as, "Oh yeah, she's abroad," and that's like what it was left at. I think the chairman even talks about how he's like proud of her for being abroad and that sort of
Really?
stuff. Or I don't know. Maybe I'm completely misremembering that.
I don't
Am I?
remember that. I
No,
don't
no.
remember
Okay,
that.
okay. Probably didn't happen. I'm probably trying to be nice to the chairman because he passed away. It's that thing of like this character was not around for 12, no, sorry, 10, 11 of the 13 episodes now. She was in episode 1 and then she was in this episode. She was referenced one other time. That's a long time. We have no emotional attachment to her. We know that she is at least, somewhat intelligent. They talk about her accomplishments. She's a CEO. We see how she treats her employee when she arrives at the airport. We know that she is being put forward by Korea as maybe somebody for the UN. So she's accomplished. We know that much. Beyond that, we know nothing about her other than what we saw in episode 1, where she is facing down with 1 1. And so she's definitely going to be a player in this. How much? I'm with you. I want her to shake things up. We need a new voice in here because right now, Jin Do Jun just runs the race. He is the only one who is actually good at what he does, other than I would say Hyunmin. Hyunmin is someone who is very, very good at what she does, but despite having all the info, as you said, they never accomplish anything with it. It always feels like, I know this, but then nothing happens. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that I guess she would be 2-1.
Yes, she's
She
two
will
one.
come in and just like shake everything up, as you said.
Yes, yes. I mean, there should be a reason why the writers kind of left her out for the audience to kind of forget about her, right? Like they have to bring
Yep,
her back in a powerful way.
for sure.
That's what I'm hoping, or at least like, or if it's not that, it's kind of just bad writing. You just not really bad writing, but convenient writing, where you only write her back in when you need her to do
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's I kind of respect how they did it. It just felt because, well, let's talk about it. So the reason that she comes back is because, unfortunately, the chairman does pass away. So in this episode, basically, we have all this buildup with Sunyang Motors, and just as Jindo Jun manages to pull it off, they make it to the semifinals. The Apollo is a major success. It makes it into the Guinness World Records for the fastest selling compact car in Korean
Yes.
history. At that basically that same moment, as he goes to tell him, the chairman collapses, and we find out pretty much right away that he passed away. There was no build up, there was no dramatic pause. It's like he collapses, we see it, and then the next scene, they're walking at his funeral.
Yeah.
What did you think about how they handled this?
There has to be a reason why they just brushed over it so quickly. And I feel like they have to address it in the next at least 1 or 2 episodes as to like what happened. Because a major thing they kept mentioning was we don't know what happened in the hospital room that night that Jin Do Jun was with the chairman. We got a glimpse of it where he was telling him like, "Oh look, I won a bet," and then turns around and then he flatlines, and that's basically like it. But I
Yeah.
still feel like that is still not enough. Like they are giving us so little just because they need to build something more. Like they're gonna probably give us more information as to why he didn't write him in the will, or like Jin Jun's gonna figure it out and everything, whatever.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
they just it was just such a quick death for someone who was so impactful in the show that there has to be the reason why. Like there's no way that they're just gonna end it off like this. And if they do, like bro, they just the writing was not good enough then because they just ran out of time or something. They didn't have enough episodes to quickly wrap up everything they do because that's what happens in K dramas usually, or like they build up so much and then they kind of need the remaining time to address other things where they kind of gloss over this or just kind of skip this and just quickly like brush past this. And I really hope that this is not the case and that they are going to spend the time in the next at least 1 or 2 episodes and tell us what really happened and why, and like really figure out how his death correlates with everything.
Yeah, yeah, you nailed it. It was really brushed over, but it feels like it was done purposely. And if it wasn't, then it's going to be an issue. But for now, it does feel like they're holding something back because they kept
Hmm.
referencing what happened in the hospital room. They bring it up several times, and we see these moments. Even then, because he died, I still expected more, at least for the family. Like, I feel like it was more dramatic when he almost passed
Yeah,
away in the plane
yeah,
crash in the early episodes. And maybe it's because the family did know that he was sick, that like it was more expected. And so it's like accepted that, he was 76. He passed away, all of this. But like again, this is the most important character in the entire show. Even in episode 1 where we don't meet him until the last 2 minutes of the episode, the entire time they are all talking about the importance of the chairman. He was the one who built the foundation. He's the one whose legacy is left behind. Everybody looks up to him. There's a reason that Jin Do Jun knew so much about him through his autobiography. Like he was that important. So for him to just kind of pass away and then it to be brushed over in this way felt very strange.
yeah. And
With
I don't
that being
know.
said, though, yeah,
Oh, I was like just gonna say like maybe they just can't have more scenes of his family half mourning him or pretending to mourn him because we already know their characters too.
yeah,
They're sad he's gone, but like the money. They just care about the money and like what happens next. Like they just don't really care about him. And like you see them talking so much trash about him too.
yeah,
Even the
yeah.
grandma saying like he couldn't be any meaner to his children even till the end. And they said, like when he passed away, they uh they're like, wow, like what is he gonna do next to us? Like, oh, like what else? Like he really just has to like backstab us until the very end and everything. They don't really care about him. And I feel like we
No,
already all got that picture. So I feel like they
you're
didn't
right.
really need to like, oh look, we're so sad about dad dying. It's like, oh not really. Like yeah, we're a little sad, but like money.
Yeah. No, I really hadn't thought about it that way. You're totally right. That is exactly why we didn't see too much of the family mourning. We see them talking about the effects of that it's going to have on the will. I almost wish that we had seen more of the greater Korean population. Like we saw that one news article basically saying that he had passed away. I kind of wanted to see. I mean, this would be like I can't even think of another example of it. The most recent one that I can think of, like a major international death, would be the Queen. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
quite like that, but it's like one of those. He was the face of business in Korea. He was really somebody who had a lot of impact on culture, on finances. He was seen as a leader, a thought leader. It would have just been nice a little bit to get more of that sort of legacy of him passing away. But totally agree on the family. They do not care about him one bit, unfortunately. They really only care about the money.
Yeah. But what did you want to move us on to?
Well, with this, passing comes the conversation of the will. And that's where we get the reveal because he did rework the will. We see him talking to Mr. Lee before he passed away, saying after the conversation he had with Jin Do Jun about Young Motors and that conversation about him feeling like he's being pitied and how he finally feels that someone cares for him. He's talking about Jin Do Jun. Then we get the conversation where Mr. Lee reveals the will to the entire family. You see all four families gathered together.
Yeah.
What actually happened here? We hear that the oldest son gets what, 3% shares, and then his wife gets like 0 point
3.
something. Yeah, exactly. 2-0, sorry, 2-0 gets 2% shares.
Wait, they said it's Jin Yi Jun. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I don't know who that is
They're
either.
like, oh yeah, for Jin Yi Jun, who is not present at the moment, 2% of Young Insurance. And I was
I
like,
don't know who that is.
who is that? Are they just naming people who's part of the family that we don't know about? Like, but
Oh, I didn't even pick up on that. I just assumed that it was Donkey.
oh yeah, no.
No,
He
okay.
said it was Jin Ye Jun.
Jing, okay. Yeah, I don't know who that is. It might like so maybe it's another family member.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know
I
because
don't know.
I think they also mentioned another family member after this too. But at that point, because I was trying to write down like who gets what because I thought they'd be a little more detailed. But after
Yeah.
like Jin Ye Jun and they said someone else, I'm like, okay, no, I'm not writing anything down. I don't know.
Yeah, so I guess the major thing here is basically nobody got what they wanted. Some of them got a little bit, but nobody got what they wanted. But when it came to Jindo Jun, what did he get?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. He got zero. All this buildup, everyone was looking at him. And he looks in that moment like he just accepts it.
Yeah.
But
This- mhm.
what di- I was confused. I was very confused, not just by what had happened. Obviously, this is a big twist, but then we find out that maybe he didn't expect
Yeah, like
this.
he really doesn't know, especially when at Miracle Investment when Mr. O is like, "Yo, do you really not know? Like, yo, like, come on, man, this is your family. Like, do you have a secret fund or something? Did he leave you something special? Is it a special inheritance? Like, what is going on? You are basically screwing us as a company if you're not telling us because you don't like we just lost 2.6 million USD, aka 2.6 trillion won. Like, you
2.6 billion
billion,
USD.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Huge numbers.
Yeah, yeah. And he's like, yo, what is going on? Just tell us. And then you see Jin Do Jun actually getting angry, saying, I don't know. I keep replaying everything in my head. Was everything he said, it was just like, did he make it up? Was he just playing with me? Like, what is going on? And then you see the flashbacks of, do you think I can trust you? Do you think I trust you? Like, don't trust anyone. Type of those flashbacks again. He's like, what on earth was I to him? Like, if anyone wanted to go into purgatory to follow him and ask him like what is going on, it's me, not you. Like I like these questions I've thought about a million times. Like you see his
Yeah.
frustration, and in that moment I was like, oh crap, maybe he doesn't know because like similar to what you said, in that moment he didn't seem that thrown off, and maybe it's just to like to save his face
Keep
in
up
front
the
of the
face.
family.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah. And
exactly.
I was like, does he really not know? And then this moment I was like, okay, maybe he doesn't know.
I feel for him because I think he really did end up caring for his grandfather.
Yes.
And I think that he felt that he had earned what he was going to be given because he was the one constant other than Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee
Hmm.
deserves something. Somebody
He
give Mr.
deserves
Lee
so much
something,
more. He should
right?
be holding Soon Young, man.
Yeah. And I mean, he expressed that the chairman in the earlier episode says that he's like, "Why were you not my son?" And one of the things that I really like about Mr. Lee and the chairman's relationship, you see him in those moments like he cares about the chairman so much. He doesn't want him to look incompetent. He wants him to be the great man that he is and was in a sense because we see that he's still sharp. In those moments he can process that information, but he's having to like wipe the drool off of his face.
Yeah.
And the chairman refers to Mr. Lee by his name. Like when he's not around other people, he doesn't call him Mr. Lee. I believe it's like Hong Jae.
Something like that. Yeah.
And so you hear him referring to him in that way, which is a little bit more affectionate and a side that we don't see very often. And so I
I
really
know.
like that relationship. And Jin Do Jun was the only other person who kind of kept up with him in that way. None of the other children, grandchildren, anybody, not his wife. And so I think he was very taken aback. He did say not to trust anybody, but this was a curveball.
Yeah, but I feel like Jin Do Jun's character isn't as cold, cut, and calculating as the
No.
chairman. Like he tries
No, no,
so
no.
hard to be. He works his way towards it, but I think his character, you can see that he's moved by loyalty and like kind gestures, especially in the very beginning
Mm-hmm.
of the like very first episode when 4O is like, "Oh, thank you for what you do to our family." You can see like he takes it to heart and it affects
Yep.
him. So
Yep.
I feel like there was no way he couldn't have make himself a little more vulnerable towards the
Yep.
chairman, let the feelings sink in. Like there's no way he could cut that off, and it probably did bite him in the butt a little bit,
Yep.
seeing how like he's so distraught from this. Like after everything he's done for him, he's not even in the will. He expected to be part of it, even though the chairman always says like, "Don't trust anyone. Don't even trust me." And he couldn't and help but end up feeling some sort of trust, a bond, some sort of relationship connection, whatever. And this is just like a reminder to him. Like it's like the grandfather's final lesson to him. Don't trust anyone.
Do you actually believe that he left him nothing? Do you think that there's some element in the will? Because they didn't get to see the full will. It was read. Maybe they saw the full will. Do you think there's something in there? If Jin Dojun manages to do something, if there's some accomplishment or something like that, he will get more. Is there something built in that will give him maybe not shares, land, anything, some ownership that we don't know about? Was there a hidden slush fund? Was Jin Do Jun really left with just that lesson?
Uh, Dude, I don't know. Like, I feel like there has to be more. I feel like the chairman had to have set something up for him to maybe get gain in the future, or like he has to work towards. Like, he's not gonna get it easily.
Hmm.
He wanted to leave everything to him, but I guess like just timing and didn't work out. Whatever. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's so messy, and I feel like in my brain I'm trying to find the string that makes the most sense, and I'm just trying to
Yeah.
sort it out, figure it out, and like, but I can't right now because it's just like it could possibly be the final lesson he was trying to teach him. Maybe he was really messing with him the entire time and doesn't plan on leaving him anything. Maybe he did leave him something, but he has to find it himself. Maybe he left him something, but other external factors got in the way, and it didn't end up going the way he wanted to. Maybe Mr. Lee also manipulated him in a way too, because I don't know, man. He says don't trust anyone. I love Mr. Lee, but I feel like
Yeah.
I'm a little paranoid. I'm a little like, I keep thinking there's something up with Mr. Lee, and I can't put my finger on it because they aren't revealing anything to us in the moment. But
No, and you're absolutely right. Like, again, he's kind of the grandmother figure where we feel so much towards him right now because he was so good to him. But was he so good to him because he knew he wasn't in his right mind, so he was able to manipulate things, right? He was the only person. He was the right hand man. Not even Jin Do Jun had the kind of power that he did. He was the business person leading the will. He was the third party. He could do whatever was needed. And so it could totally be that Mr. Lee, kind of like the grandmother, is the other antagonist. I had that same feeling of discomfort. I really like him as a character. I think he's a
yeah,
very caring individual. But much like we heard from the woman who had worked for 3O for years and years and
yes,
years, there's that loyalty, and she was willing to do anything as long as she got her payday at the end. And if that meant going to prison for it, her
yeah,
loyalty needed to be paid off. And in the
yeah,
case of Mr. Lee, we even see when he's confronted by Young Key's like, you don't deserve anything. You're not family. And
yeah.
in that moment, he kind of like shuts him up. But I'm also sitting there being like, okay, you could have said something more there. Why are you not?
Yeah, like he there it was basically how 3O was telling Jino Jun and his family, like, stay in your place. You
Yes.
aren't in part of this family. You will never be part of
Yep.
this family. It's like it's crazy how they treat people with such loyalty to their family this way. It's like how 3O treated the director of finance too. Um,
Exactly.
so I feel like there has to be a reason why Mr. Lee is so loyal to him. It's not just because of the money. It's not just because of things. Because like, if he needed money, he can always backstab him and get a better deal somewhere else, or like he
Totally.
could deal with his
Yeah.
children. Like, oh, if I can secure your place in the Soon dynasty, like you have to give me something back, type of thing. So there's a reason
Yeah.
why he is so loyal to the chairman. So I feel like maybe he won't backstab him, but at the same time, if he does backstab him, I won't be surprised. At the same time, I'm gonna be a little sad.
I
I bet emotions are
know. I
everywhere.
know. I know. But that's again, that's why even if there are moments in the show that I'm like, I wish you hadn't really done things that way, or this moment wasn't played so well. The strength of the show is giving everybody real motivations and having it be believable when someone does something like stab someone else in the back because you can't trust anybody. I feel like these lessons are as much for the audience in terms of the writing as they are for the characters. It's training us to be like, no, 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 no one is to be trusted, not even Jin Do Jun, because we've seen several times he is an unreliable narrator. He will say one thing and then do another. And whether it's because he's tricking another character or they're just holding back information to surprise us, I would not be surprised if Jin Do Jun ends up doing something not so great in the end to either get power or whatever it is.
Yeah, especially after the chairman passes too. Like I feel like he has
Mm-hmm.
no reason to be nice to any of the rest of the family. The grandmother basically cut ties with him. She said like,
Yep.
even if I like, you will not get anything from me. I feel like after the
No.
passing, he's just gonna he can he can tear apart the family, and he doesn't care. He won't care. Like he doesn't care about anyone else.
There's one person he does care about. There's technically three people he really cares about.
The 4O family?
The 4O family.
I don't think so anymore, man.
I no, I think he really does because this is his fault. So the scene I'm referring to for listeners, his father comes to him and basically proposes to him or tells him that he should release footage of the chairman in the hospital because if they're able to see that he was not in his right mind, they can nullify the contract, and it's being done for the chairman's legacy because it will protect the company. And Jin Do Jun in that moment has to look at his father as a very different person. This whole time, he's always been a constant. He did not want to be involved in the family business. He did not want to be involved in the drama. He only got involved because Jin Do Jun was the one who wanted to. And it hurts. This scene hurt even more than anything else in this episode because it was like, wow, okay, the business has now corrupted your own father. This felt wrong. And Jin Do Jun stood up to him and said, "Absolutely not. Did you like he's did you not understand what I was saying? Why are we not nullifying?" And he's like, "I heard you perfectly clearly. You want to release footage that would embarrass the chairman to protect his legacy. You're the one who's not making sense." What did you think of this?
I feel like I picked up on the scene a little bit different from you. It's not that Jin Do
Mm,
Jun corrupted him in a way. It's kind of I feel like I my mentality of this is similar to how Jin Do Jun's projecting it. That he always had this in him, and it's just coming out now because there's an opportunity present. Because Jin Do Jun says, "I always thought you were never capable of being part of the Jin family, but I guess that's been proven wrong now or whatever." Like that, I didn't write it down, but like he said something along those lines where like I thought you weren't capable of being part of this family, but you are. Um, and I feel like it's this is just another thing the writers threw in just to kind of be like, look, another person you can't
yeah,
trust
no, can't
because
trust.
showing the true colors. Because yeah, at first he seems so so on his side, like, oh, at this rate you'll never beat your uncles at this war. I feel like we should release the CCTV footage to annul the will because you deserve something, like we're helping you get to the top. But then he also says your uncles and aunt do not have what it takes to run the company. Why must we let them take this from us again? He doesn't really say you because this is his endeavors, like this is Jin Do Jun's journey to get Soon Young. He says, why must we let them take it from us again? So he acknowledges that his rights got taken away. He already says too, like, I never had this opportunity because I was born on a wedlock, but he was out of the race already. But with his son, it was his way in again. So I just felt like the scene, yeah, it hurt seeing his true colors come out, but I feel like it's not entirely Jin Do Jun's fault. Like I think it kind of is like how he presented the opportunity, but
Mm-hmm.
his father just went with it because like yeah, he didn't have a chance before, but now he does with his son. And
So for you, it's more so that like because he was born out of wedlock and he knew from the beginning, he just never even considered himself a player in the race, so he didn't bother trying.
mhm. And I feel like maybe that's why there's a reason his siblings treat him the way they do, not just because he's born out of wedlock. Because you know, there's like some people who actually no, scratch that. I feel like these people you have to be 100% blood, otherwise like you're not part of it, and that's what they've been
Mm-hmm.
kind of showing. But she 3-0 keeps calling him the retired king, acting as if you're the retired king, because they said this before too when the siblings were talking to each other and like, oh, you should have seen Yonggi, he's acting like he's the retired king now that Dojun might have a chance at succession, blah 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 blah. They keep calling him that, and I feel like maybe it's because it's like probably like the past things that we will definitely never know as viewers, but like this resentment probably is because of maybe he did try at one point to be part of this, but he cannot because he's part of like he was born out of wedlock. There's a reason why he went on his own journey, and we all know it's because he's not 100% their blood.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I feel like I don't know, it makes sense why he's acting this way. It's not entirely Jin Do Jun's fault in my mind because he's like an opportunist, like
Yeah.
opportunist.
Yep. Yeah. Opportunist. Yep.
Yeah, like he saw this moment that Jin Do Jun can get for him, and he's riding it too.
You know what? And you convinced me because when I think about it, it's not even just this moment. So I think maybe that opportunity being presented to him, I took that as like, oh, Jin Do Jun, what did you do? You really like twisted his mind and gave him these thoughts. No, you're right. Because even in the previous episode, when his life was threatened after they got in the car crash, his dad is immediately coming to him and being like, okay, how do we want to handle this? He's thinking about the business side of things. Whereas the mom is like, no, what are
Hmm.
you doing? We're going to the police. And it's not until Jin Do Jun is saying to his mom, no, that will only put us in more danger. She's the one who's really scared for her son. Obviously, the dad is too, but he's also thinking about the business side of things. You're absolutely right. She's the empathetic one in that situation. He's the logical one. I think that yes, he was written out, and we even hear in earlier episodes how they kind of talk about him like he's the conniving one. 4-0 is
Yeah.
the really charismatic one, sending his son to do this. Like
Yeah.
I thought that's just because they didn't like him.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
right?
with context, now we can see that maybe he was. And yeah, I still think that he's probably a better person than they
Yeah,
are
a
because
little
he's
bit.
he's just been able to remove himself. And again, they say that you are a reflection of the five people that you surround yourself with most closely. And so by surrounding himself with, his wife, his children who are all good people, hopefully that's just led to him leading a better life. But there's that little part of him inside that, when presented with this opportunity, as you said, he says us. And that's so clear now after you said that. Yeah, you absolutely are right. You absolutely are right. Well done. Well done. Completely changed my read on that whole thing.
Yo, that's an achievement because it's really hard to change CB's mind.
Wait, what? I am a malleable person.
Sometimes. Sometimes.
I'll take that as what it is. I
Yeah.
I guess I'm pretty stubborn at times.
I feel like I don't remember what episode we were talking about, but we had a slight like disagreement on something, and we were
Yeah,
yeah, I don't remember what, but like see, it's a little hard to change his mind sometimes, but
it can be. It can be.
yeah,
Moving on though, we then do have the confrontation between Jin Do Jun and the grandmother.
yes,
A lot happens here in a very short amount of time because the grandmother is able to hand out 17% of her, like, the shares. So while everyone else is getting little pieces here and there, she reveals that she's had a slush fund this whole time. She
yeah,
holds not the majority. You need over 30% to become the majority shareholder.
yeah,
But she holds a massive amount. So if she gives it to her oldest son, he would, basically be close enough to get there.
yeah,
The
yeah.
second
It'll
son,
be
very,
30
very
on the
close.
dot.
30 on the dot. Okay, so
Yeah,
perfect. You're right, right. We see that he has 13%. The second son
yes,
has
12,
12%, so as long as he can get one more percent, he would be in the clear as well.
yes. 30
Jin Do
has
Jun has already
3.
been told. Right, right. She has nothing. She just wants the department store back. That's all she
Yeah,
wants.
yeah, I don't care
Uh,
anymore.
yeah, exactly. Jin Do Jun has no chance at it because she's already said, like, oh yeah, no, no, no. Like he threatened her literally last episode. We know that he doesn't have a chance through her kindness at least.
Yeah,
But what we do hear is from Mr. O and I always forget her name, Tiffany's character.
Rachel.
Rachel, thank you. Why can I never remember that? I don't know. As we hear from them, though, he needs not only to become the CEO by being voted in by the shareholders, he also needs the 17%. That is the only way he can surpass 30%. So he has to come up with some way to get her shares. And it feels like a long shot until we see them together. And that's when he reveals that he not only knows what she's been up to, he knows that she placed the hit on him and the chairman.
Yeah, I mean he's known that for a while now, but yeah.
I mean, he has. She didn't know that he knew, though.
Oh, I thought she did know because he said, "If I'll keep your secret, if you keep my secret, you keep the chairman's secret, and I'll keep the secret of you trying to kill us."
So what was his threat in this situation then? If she already knew,
That's why I found this part a little bit messy. Like to me, I felt like I didn't connect the lines that well. Because at the same time, he said like, "Oh yeah, if you try to
oh
hurt."
no, it's because the evidence. It's not just the piece of paper. So before she
Oh?
basically said, "What evidence do you have?" and he basically presented the Sims. Now that she has the prosecution after her,
Yeah.
he is the one person who can fully prove it. So he's basically saying, "No, no, no, it's not just my word against yours. I have evidence and you are being investigated. I hold all the cards now." Because she gets called by the prosecutor and she's like, "What do I do?"
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I guess it's just that little bit of extra. Now you're being fully investigated.
Yeah.
I'm your only lifeline. Okay, okay. But you're right. So she knew beforehand that he knew all about this. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I was still like getting a little bit confused because so there was a they tried to hurt So Min Young in her car,
Yeah.
and he got the
Yeah.
driver to go save her. How did he know that
Yeah.
was gonna happen? How did he know where the location was gonna be? How did he get the exact information that she was gonna get hurt on this date? Blah blah blah. Whatever. You know what? I'll suspension of disbelief. Whatever.
At least he
I'll
wasn't the one who like ran there and pulled her out of the burning car himself. I'm
dude.
glad that he just sent an employee.
I was half expecting it to be him smashing the window. It's like no,
I know, I
no.
know. You know what though? I feel like this could be a translation thing as well, like a localization thing. Because if he had just said that he had had the driver watch over her, it
Yeah,
would have felt a
yeah,
lot different. So
yeah.
maybe it was just a translation thing,
Maybe yeah,
and
cause
they
he
were
like
like,
the
I sent
yeah.
you."
I was
Maybe it was
sent.
like,
Yeah.
"I was sent to look after you or look over you," and then when he sees this, he runs over and smashes the window.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's just lost in translation. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't get how Jin Do Jun's gonna get his grandmother out of this situation just by taking her shares, because he has to. Because she says like, oh, like what do I do? Like, the prosecution called me, and then she, oh, like so that's it. Like you've been after my shares this entire time. Um, I don't see how she can get out of going to jail. Because the prosecution has solid evidence against her, and it's not is Gino Jun just not going to, is he going to withhold the evidence? Like, is he just not going to
Yeah,
give it to her? I guess.
Yeah, so I think one of two things could happen. Either he's just going to betray the grandmother and send her to prison anyways, or
Yeah,
well, I kind of doubt. Or we hear at the end of the episode, Song Young basically says like, "Oh, we have enough to pull her in as a witness, and then I know somebody who has a solid physical piece of evidence." Like she
yeah,
basically says that Jin Do Jun is the one who's holding the cards, and because she is relying on him, she knows she can do it. He thinks that she's in danger. He thinks that now that he's made this deal by withholding that, I think he can basically keep her out of that light. He can put it somewhere else. He could either direct them elsewhere or just say that, there's not enough here. I don't really understand what that piece of evidence is. Is it really just the piece of
I
paper? That
feel like
feels
it is.
flimsy. It can't
Yeah,
really that feels so flimsy. And so it's like there must be something further. It can't just be the Sims gallery and that sort of stuff. So there's got to be something, but yeah, I think he holds a key piece of evidence that if he destroys, withholds, whatever it is, that she will be able to get off.
yeah, maybe that's it. But then that's also him destroying his relationship with her, with
Yeah.
Song Young, and like, I mean, it's already basically destroyed. I don't understand why he was also number one in her speed dial too, even though she hates him so much.
I I don't think she hates him. I think she really loves him and it's just that thing of the
Love hate.
frustration of being with somebody who every turn basically stabs her in the back. She's just trying to help him.
Understand why this is
She
not,
cares.
this is like, why. I can't accept that this is what makes her Soon Young's Grim Reaper. Like, just like,
No?
yeah, because there's so many times where she is trying to like help him. She doesn't want him.
Yep.
She full on says, "I don't want you to get hurt again. I need to like this to get finished because I'm the one that started this. I want to end it because if I end it, like you won't be hurt anymore." But then at every interaction, he's like, "Just drop it. Just leave it alone. I know who the murderer is, but leave it alone. Stop it. Leave it
So
alone."
I still don't think it's this. I feel like something else has to happen. I think this is the
Yeah,
beginning of her protecting him, but I feel like there's something
it
else that
has to
has
be
to
right.
happen. Again, because we have 3 episodes left. We have 3 episodes left, and something has to happen to Jin Do Jun. His mother comes into the room. This is the one thing I'm clinging on to. This is why it has to still be some major twist. Something has to happen to him because the mother comes barging in. She's mad at the husband. She's mad at the entire family. She's like, I hold the cards. Whoever I give my shares to will become the owner of Soon Young. What Where is my son? What happened to him? Tell me the truth. Just give me that piece of info and it's yours. There has to be something. She is the one
Uh,
good, uncorruptible character in this show. If
I
she gets corrupted, I am a broken human being.
I think I can full on see them finishing that arc with the fact that he doesn't die in this car crash. That it could have been he dies in that car crash, and that's what gets her to spiral into the divorce. And like, I had these shares, I'm going to like end you all. Like, I need to find what happened to my son. I can see it totally ending with, if he died in that car crash, that was gonna be her villain origin story. But because he survived, then it's kind of like, okay, well, that line has been cleared up. She has no resentment against him.
Alternate timeline, like now
Mm,
things are different.
yeah, a
I
little
think we
bit.
have to end up back in that original scenario. I feel
I
like
know
we
what
have
you
to at this
mean,
point.
but it's like
Like,
he said so many times you can't change the outcome of deaths and everything. Like, there's
yeah,
something that are
yeah.
set, but he full on avoids death. So I don't know,
He
man.
avoids death, but did he die at that time? I don't think he did.
I feel like he could have died at that time. Like, if
I my guess is no, and that was just a setup to make that ending more dramatic because
hmm.
we didn't know. We figured because of everything that he would survive,
But
but
wouldn't
I
the
feel
hit
like
on the chairman be in his biography?
no, because as we said, like it's all kept under wraps, and maybe that's even more why the grandmother definitely won't go to prison because it never goes public.
Well, I feel
It's
like just
all just kept under wraps.
isekais and time warp travel, whatever crap, time in general is just so messy.
Time is messy. It's true. It's so true. It's so true. All right, there's one last thing that we have to talk about. We're at the end of the episode, basically. One last thing that we need to address, though. Young Ki, 1-0, goes to the grandmother after finding out that, well, through, what's her
One
name?
one.
Hyunmin
Oh,
and
Hyunmin.
1-1,
Yeah.
that his mother was the one who placed the hit on the chairman and Do Jun. He goes to her, and I wasn't sure. Like, did you think that he was going to confront her about the hit? Did you think that he was going to confront her about the shares? What did you think he was going to see her about?
The hit. I thought he was gonna be like, I can't believe you did that, mom. Like, what the
Same.
frig? I
I
feel like he
think we're
kind of was a
still
little bit.
treating the. Sorry,
He did kind of approach her in that mentality, though, a little bit in the beginning.
a little
But
bit.
what were you gonna say?
I was just. I think the two of us are still thinking of them as too good of people. Like, we still give them the benefit of the doubt, being like, yeah, he would confront her about the hit, and it's like, no, no, no. He really just cares about the shares. He cares about the
Yeah.
legacy.
Yeah, dude. No, I've been like thinking this entire episode. This is his villain origin story, man. You
Yep.
see him getting darker and more twisted. He full on like sacks the employee that walks in, and he's
Yeah.
like,
What was that?
yeah, he's like, oh, like, how dare you say that? Like, what makes you think that Sunyang Motors is gonna fail, or whatever? If you have eyes, look. If you have ears, listen. Like, say, like, use your stupid mouth to say this again. Like, Sunyang Motors is gonna fail. Like. But I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
why are you so angry at him? He's your employee. He's gonna obviously say whatever it's gonna make you feel better in the moment. You're
Yeah.
hoping, like, you're sad about Sunyang Motors getting given to Jin Do Jun for the Apollo project, whatever. He was
Mm-hmm.
sad about that. So obviously your employee's gonna be like, oh, don't worry. Like, if it's probably gonna fail anyway. So you gotta just say it just to make this person feel better, right? So why would you hold on to that? I freaking like sack him and say this is your fault. Like, huh? Like, so I feel like he's getting really irrational. He's getting a lot more aggressive and aggravated. I see the first episode 1-0 chairman coming out.
Definitely, definitely. We're seeing his turn. 1-1 is definitely, I feel like I see him and his wife now getting a little bit closer, and they're gonna end up not
Are
closer. Maybe that's
they?
the wrong way to put that. More like, I guess, collaborative and getting to the point where we see them in the future. Like we're starting to see them become the people that we saw them in episode one.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. I don't know. Like 1-1 and his wife's interactions are still so
They're bizarre.
questionable to me.
They're
Yeah,
very
his
strange. Like, I thought this might be the moment where they finally have a moment of intimacy for the first time. Like, she comes out in that like nightgown, and I was like, oh, this is weird. Like, there's no like tension between them whatsoever. And I was like, is this the moment where they finally connect? Nope, not even a little bit. No.
yeah, because she's telling him like, oh, like you, like the will is still very questionable because
Yeah.
we don't know what happened that night in the hospital. Tojun's the only one who was with him at his deathbed, and he's full on says, "Wow, you know so much about Do Jun. You should get an
So
award for it."
jealous. Yeah.
Yeah, or
He's
you should get a
so
degree for
jealous.
it. Yeah, you should get a degree for it. She's like, "Don't twist my words, like you idiot. I'm trying to help you."
Oh my goodness. What a couple. What a couple. Really couple goals out there, you know?
Yeah, I wish that for you as well. Then, if that's couple goals.
Absolute. I want someone as manipulative as that, just so that I can always be on my toes. Really keep things spicy and interesting. Isn't that what we all strive for? No?
Dude, your life is gonna your life expectancy is gonna be cut in half with all that stress. What the heck,
I'm already going gray. What do you mean?
dude? Oh my gosh, though, like every time we see the grandma, I'm like expecting she's gonna drop dead right now. She's gonna faint. Her heart's gonna stop. Like, something's wrong. You see her shaking with anger every single
Yeah.
time in this episode. I'm like, dude, there's no way her old fragile heart can handle all this stress. Like the stress about people knowing that she put a hit on her husband and her grandson, the slush fund, her possibly going to prison, the fact that her husband has died, and like the inheritance, like who's going to own Soon Young, all this stress. I'm like, there's no way this 70-something-year-old lady is is okay through all this. Every time I see her, I'm like,
No.
she's gonna drop dead. She's gonna have a heart
And I
attack and
realize
die.
like it's another 20 years. So we're in 2002 at this point in the show.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
exactly 20 years until we're in the future. So obviously she's not going to live through all of that because she wasn't there in episode 1.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. There's got to be something at some point where that happens and then it's basically up to the children.
Yeah, no, I keep thinking that she's not gonna make it. We're not gonna see her at the end of the episode. There's something she's also gonna die too.
It's going to be a straight up heart attack.
Yeah.
All right, well that's going to do it for this episode. Comey, what did you think of the episode overall? What would you rate the episode?
I would give it a 3.5.
3.5. I'm right there with you. Yeah. One of these times we will disagree, but not this time. I really enjoyed the episode. I felt like there was a lot of interesting bits, but there was also, yeah, I just wish they gave like the chairman a little bit more of a farewell. And I felt like the episode left on kind of a weird note again. Not much of a cliffhanger. It's just like, ah, right, they're investigating the grandmother. Like I didn't really know what to take away from that, but lots of other
Yeah.
interesting stuff in the episode. Yeah, what about you?
Similar. I mean, because we only have 3 episodes left, right? And like with the
Mm,
timeline and schedule of how these episodes came out, like these last three
yeah,
are supposed to come out in one weekend, right? The biggest, like the last three, the biggest ones. Um, Similar thoughts. Like I feel like we're probably gonna live through the memories and flashbacks with the chairman. If they made his
true.
death so abrupt, or like not really abrupt, but just kind of like, oh yeah, it happened.
They
I feel
brushed
like,
over it. Yeah,
yeah, we're gonna get a lot of flashbacks, and like we're gonna have lots of information revealed from those flashbacks. It's like when he already passed, we already saw his funeral, but we cut back to when he was in the hospital a few times before he passed. Like they're already doing it in this episode. I feel like next episode they're gonna be like, oh, this happened, and then flashback, and like you see this entire montage, like what actually really happened, and it's like
yeah,
Sherman's involved.
yeah.
I feel like maybe that's how we're gonna live through him, or like
I could see that.
yeah, like he's gonna be alive for the rest of the episode through his old montages or whatever.
Yeah, I could totally see it playing out like that. Again, they can't get rid of him. The actor's too strong. You can't do without him for 3 more episodes.
I
No
know,
way.
right? Like, oh,
He's
dude,
too
every
good.
time I think about this actor, the very first episode, the last 2 minutes, like you said, even though he wasn't even in the episode, the last 2 minutes was so impactful. I see him that like he's in the middle, and like everyone on like
Parts. His
yeah,
presence.
yeah, and he's like just staring at you into the screen, into your soul, and I was like, oh damn, that was a very powerful scene. I don't think I'll ever forget that shot. Like when I think about this show, that's going to be one of the moments I think about.
Yeah, no, it's true. I can remember that exact moment so clearly.
But yeah,
But
anyways,
that's it.
that's it for this episode. I'm excited to watch episode 14. Sorry we kind of went on break for the holidays. I mean, it was the holidays, right? Happy 2023.
Happy 2023.
Oh, and if there are any suggestions on what we should watch after this, because we're probably gonna be wrapping this up in the next week or two, right?
Yep.
Yeah. If anyone has any suggestions on what show to watch next, we're open.
What are the biggest K dramas of 2023? What is the one you are anticipating most? Let us know down in the comments. Let us know what you thought of this episode. And of course, if you enjoyed the episode, give us that thumbs up. It does actually help a lot. I didn't realize before we started doing this, it helps a lot to get it in front of people's eyes.
Does it?
It's
I
kind of
don't know.
crazy.
You're
Yeah,
you're looking at that side of two beans in a screen. I'm just
true.
going with the
Very,
flow
very true. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for all of the comments, all
and
of the views, all the
listening.
likes, and listening, of
Our
course.
Spotify.
That's right. Thank you everybody listening on Spotify. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.